many of you would say that you are somewhat reliant upon your phones? Would you raise your hand? Feel free to point. One of my favorite stories happened a couple of years ago. I was at Buffalo Wild Wings, and there was a young couple. That being said, boy, young couples, there's more of them than there used to be. But there was a young couple, and I assumed they were on a date. I looked, neither of them had wedding rings, so I assumed they were on a date. And I sat there the whole time. They did not say a word to each other. They just stared in their phones and tapped. And I thought, man, that's pathetic. We used to talk to our dates, but they're on their phones. And I thought, man, this is awful. And then something occurred to me. Do you think they're texting each other? Do you think this is the only way they know how to communicate with one another? Well, regardless, we're all pretty reliant on those phones. Now, anybody seem to have more trouble than average with your phone? My dad has some kind of odd energy field. His phone is wonky more than everybody else's combined. He's always got a phone problem, And when you get a phone problem today, you really do have a bit of an existential crisis. And so when I have a phone problem, I know a few things to do, right? You got a few things over the years you just figure out. So I try everything I know. And then if that doesn't work, I take it to a young person. And that's getting easier because there's more young people than there used to be. And so I take it to a young person and I say, hey, can you take a look at this? It's only if they can't fix it, and I've gone through 3 or 4 of them, that I finally take it to the phone shop. Now, the phone shop always fixes my phone. It's just they want to charge me American currency for doing it. And I have a certain objection to that, being as it cost more for my phone than it did for my first car. And so I feel like it should be fixed for free, but it's not. But I will tell you this, that when my phone won't work and I can't fix it, and I can't find anybody that can fix it, I really am glad to know where to take it. I've got one particular store that's done a pretty good job for me over the years, and when my phone breaks down, I take it there. Not anywhere, I take it there. I know where to go when my phone doesn't work, and I can't fix it, and no one else I know can fix it either. Many years ago, we began playing softball in non-church leagues. When I came, we had 1 softball team, then I think we had 2, and then we had 3 playing in church leagues. But a whole bunch of years ago, we decided to go evangelistic. At one time, this church had 10 softball teams. My purpose for our softball ministry was evangelistic, pure and simple. We would compete with the other team, and at the end of the game, we would offer them an opportunity to pray with us at the plate at the conclusion of the game. Sometimes nobody joined us. Sometimes the whole other team joined us, and every now and then, someone would actually articulate a prayer request, and we would pray for them. In that moment, in that 60 seconds that we gathered and prayed, people were lifted up, hands were shaken, invitations to church were offered. No doubt some faith conversations ensued, but most of all, a seed was planted. My goal wasn't to get everyone that we played against into church. That's not realistic. But I was always keenly aware that so many of the guys with whom we competed were one life event away from turning to God. Maybe a baby, maybe a marriage, maybe a DUI, maybe losing a job, maybe decided they were going to lean into whatever they had been planning to do. But so many people were just one event away from turning to God. I read some interesting data this week, and it really surprised me. My assumption was most everybody who's going to come back to live church post-COVID is already back. And this suggested that I was somewhat wrong. There's still a lot of people who have not come back to live church. They did a follow-up on this survey, and they asked a second question. What would it take to get you back? And more than you would imagine responded they were one invitation away from coming back. Just one invitation away from coming back. You know, with softball, I wanted the guys that we played against to know that if they ever get in a situation in their life where their metaphorical phone isn't working and they can't fix things themselves and they've exhausted all their familiar options, I wanted them to know that they can come to Christ Church. I want them to know we'd be ready to welcome them with open arms. I wanted them to know that if you get to a point in your life where no one else can help you, we believe Jesus can help you. And we want to plant that seed with you. In a sense, we, by doing evangelism, established we are a place where people can go when they can't go anywhere else. And aren't those the people that flocked to Jesus in the New Testament? Aren't those the people that flocked to Jesus? People who needed hope, people who needed healing, people who were afflicted. They were the folks that flocked to Jesus, not the people whose phones always worked. The church must still be a place where hurting people can come to Jesus, and it's our job to tell them that they can come here. I think we all know people who desperately need the peace and purpose and power and passion that we have found in Christ. We often try to share our faith, but we don't exactly know how to do it. Clearly, trying to shove religion down someone's throat is never a great idea. Sometimes even when we just press Jesus and somebody's not willing to receive it, we can do more harm than good. But offering a point of contact, letting people know that if you do hit a point in your life that you're interested in turning to God, or you're just over your head, letting them know where to go is an act of evangelism. I always wanted the people we played in softball to walk off the field thinking, I may not be ready to turn to God, but if I ever do turn to God, Christ Church is the first place I'm going to go look.